Good morning, listeners. Thank you for joining me. Before we get started, we have to do the YouTube things. Be sure to hit the like button on this video, the notification bell so that you know when I upload new videos. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It does let YouTube know that I'm here. And we want YouTube to know that I'm here. But without further ado, we will continue on in the Vixen Diaries with Chapter 20. Jesus Loves Me. In December 2006, I was scheduled to speak at a large evangelical church in the South. In the weeks leading up to the event, I became better acquainted with the church's pastor through a series of phone conversations and emails. Originally, the purpose of these calls was to assure him that I was the person he wanted to speak to his congregation. It is very rare that I feel insecure or inadequate, but I must admit that the prospect of this speaking engagement made me a bit apprehensive. Just the thought of standing up to speak in front of a congregation of holy rollers was unnerving. What must they think of me, the crowned harlot, destined for hell? I'm not exactly an avid churchgoer or a fan of organized religion. Even though I am fully aware of the power God has over my life and the advantages of heeding his warnings and serving his word. That is, I am far from righteous. I am, in fact, very uncomfortable in houses of worship, at least during organized services. I want solitude when I talk to God. I prefer to pray in empty churches, and I do so at my neighborhood chapel, St. Francis de Sales. Now, as the pastor and I continued our conversations, I did begin to feel more comfortable with the idea. I even looked forward to it and wondered how the experience would change me. I am obviously a work in progress. I have been going through a wondrous transformation over the past few years of my life. Each day I feel changed by my experiences and the revelations as life unfolds. At the age of 28, I feel I have begun to put my lewd and scandalous past behind me, and I look forward to the changes that are to come. I feel no need to rush. However, I would like to take my time on my journey and feel every bump in the road. As I prepare to make the trek down south, I began to think of what I would say to a couple thousand Christians and to consider what they may say to me. I was drawing a blank, but since the pastor invited me to be a part of an entire weekend he was calling the Honesty Experience, I figured I was in good shape. As my first book proved, I always tell the truth, sometimes to a fault, even when it's not what you want to hear. One day, shortly before I was to leave, the pastor called me, though, with a stern tone in his voice. "I need to chat with you," he said somberly. "I was on your website last night and found something very disturbing. And I'm not promoting sin," he declared. Now, to backtrack a bit, the Honesty Experience was billed as a forum in which to discuss the ills and pitfalls of the hip hop culture and its music. Naturally, when one thinks of ills and pitfalls as it pertains to the hip hop world, my name might be likely to come up. I've come to expect this, though, and actually enjoy bringing the unknowing public up to speed on what life is really like. But what was the pastor talking about when he mentioned not wanting to promote sin? I was perplexed because he had pictures of Jay-Z, Kanye West, Diddy, and 50 Cent, none of whom were scheduled to attend the conference, printed on the flyers used to promote the event. along with a photo of me taken from the cover of Smooth magazine. Pause. Now, later on, I might post that picture. I'm going to see if I can find it on the internet, and I will post it in the community tab. Let's continue on. My question to him then became, which one of us being used to promote this little church is not a sinner or has not promoted sin in either our past or present works? Look at the company I'm in. What am I, the only sinful one in the bunch? The pastor went on to explain that it was a video journal entry on my website that got his boxers all in a bunch. In the decadent video in question, I was sitting in my jacuzzi up to my collarbone in suds, wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. You can still see the Turkey Day video on my website, www.corinne.com. The only exposed skin is on my face, arms, and shoulders. Now keep in mind that this is the same man who divulged to me that he loves King magazine and the fine ladies on display in every issue. The same man who told me just nights before he had been at a nightclub having a drink and meeting with a young lady who had flown in from Atlanta to visit him. The same pastor who couldn't stop telling me how fine I am. And the very pastor who took an oath before God and witnesses when he married and then found himself divorced. Okay, I see. You enjoy the blatant display of black ass on the pages of a national magazine. See no problem having sex outside wedlock, secretly visiting nightclubs, consuming alcoholic beverages, and deface the sanctity of marriage. But a woman in her bathtub showing no skin below her armpits is offensive to you? Okay, got it. The pastor then went on to explain that he somehow had found a full frontal nudity photo of me online showing, as he so gracefully put it, pubic hairs while in a bathtub. My retort was simple. I am sorry to disappoint you, Pastor, but I have never taken such a photo. But even if I had, why would that bother this man of God, a man who was already fully aware of my past? He knew about the distasteful moniker superhead, which I have come to loathe with every fiber of my being, and still called on me to speak to his congregation. After my fact checkers combed the internet and found no such photo, I started to wonder what his problem could be. Maybe it was the fact that the pastor had taken it upon himself to book a coach ticket for me to fly into his town, and when he was made to change it to a first-class flight, he opted to use my frequent flyer miles to upgrade the ticket for a mere $100 fee without my consent. When I found out about the 30,000 miles missing from my frequent flyer account, American Airlines informed me that the chunk of mileage was equivalent to $1,800. Coincidentally, the day before, my attorney notified the pastor that he would have to either pay the difference between the coach and the first class fare or the amount to replace the miles he used. All of a sudden, I became a super sinner. The fact was, the pastor underestimated how much my time and energy were worth, and either could not or would not pay more than the $350 he splurged for his so-called honesty experience weekend. Honesty experience indeed. Instead of just being honest with me, as I had been with him, and with the rest of the world for that matter, he decided to blame it all on a bubble bath and a full frontal nudity photo that never existed. In the interim, the pastor also deemed it necessary to ask if I had accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. Oh boy, here we go. Another dose of double standard. Just as with Tyra Banks and Donnie Deutsch. No, I told him. No, I am not. I have not given my life to the Lord. And if I had, I'd be celibate until marriage. I would no longer consume alcohol or smoke the occasional cigarette, nor would I continue to write books that are not directly related to God himself. I am not saved, I told the pastor as he stood sanctimoniously tall on his judgmental soapbox. I am not saved, nor do I want to be. I am not a follower of any particular denomination, and am most certainly not a follower of pastors who are so eloquent in their ways of quoting scriptures, yet do not live holy lives. I admit I was on a roll, and I went on letting him have it, which begs the question. I continued, which of us are living holy lives? In my opinion, the day any one of us becomes so holy that we hold ourselves above the rest who inhabited the earth and believe we are justified in our judgments of other men and women, that is the day the Lord will call us home to serve next to him. In the aftermath of my triad, I felt drained but incredibly serene. I saw how someone who professes to be a high servant of God had plunged the holes of his insecurity by turning on me and questioning my lifestyle choices, picking on something as simple as a bubble bath. By trying to degrade me, he was able to deflect scrutiny of his own shortcomings and do so in the name of the Lord. I told him, as I have told many, that when people reach a place in their lives where they are truly happy and blessed and know they are adequate within their own lives, it becomes impossible for them to judge others or to turn even the most troubled soul away. Everyone is capable of projecting his or her own baggage onto you, even one who claims to live his life for God. This pastor had a chance to change my mind and he missed it. But what I know for sure is that everything has its purpose, and there is a reason why my disaffection from organized religion remains to this day. My ordeal with the pastor brought home something I've always known. We are all people trying to find our way, and even though there are books to guide us, books that we are certain have all the answers, we still have questions. Even a man of God will never truly be saved until he is in the arms of the Lord. Until that day, he will always be affected by the world around him. That's what makes him a man, and that's what separates him from God himself. The pastor and I would later smooth over our differences and continue our conversations learning together. He would later admit his shortcomings and ask for forgiveness. For me, there was no foul to forgive. I can never fault a man from being flesh and bone, no matter how much that man may fault me. Ooh. And that is all. Oh, that was good. Thank you for listening. If you have listened this far, please be sure to hit the like button on your way out, the notification bell so that you know when I upload new videos. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And I'm getting more comfortable with this, Thank you. Thank you all for being so kind. Until next time.